Hey guys, how are you today? Quick rant before we dive into today's chaos. As some of you might have noticed, YouTube's algorithm has decided I'm not special anymore. Shocking, I know. So now if you don't like, comment, or do a little backflip in the algorithm's honor, this video might just vanish into the void, never to be seen again. Seriously though, even a hi or "this is wild" in the comments helps way more than you think. It tells YouTube, hey, people actually like this channel. Maybe don't hide it from everyone. That can really help push my videos out to a wider audience, not just to my subscribers. So if you enjoy these stories and want to support the channel, that's the best way to do it. Now grab a drink, get comfy, and enjoy the drama. You won't want to miss this one. 2 months ago, my wife Teresa sat me down to talk about something important. She told me that she had been thinking for a while and felt that we should open up our marriage. Her words hit me like a ton of bricks. I just sat there trying to process what she had just said. Up until that moment, I truly believed that our marriage was solid. Sure, we had our ups and downs like any couple, but I never imagined that she was unhappy or feeling unfulfilled. In my mind, everything between us had been going well. We loved each other, spent time together, and supported one another. That's why her request shocked me to my core. Never in my wildest dreams did I think my wife would even ask for something like this. The thought that she wanted to bring other people into our relationship made my head spin. For context, I first met my wife, Teresa, when I was just 15 years old, back in high school. From the moment I laid eyes on her, I knew she was special. You could say our love story is a bit old-fashioned. She wasn't just my high school sweetheart. She was my first love, my only love. I had never felt anything like what I felt for her. And to this day, no one has ever come close. When I decided to join the Army, I knew it wouldn't be easy for either of us. The distance, the uncertainty, the long stretches of time apart. It was a lot to ask of a young couple. But I made her a promise before I left. I told her that no matter how long it took, no matter where life took us, I would come back for her. And when I did, I would marry her. To her credit, Teresa never wavered. She patiently waited for me just like she said she would. Every single week, without fail, she wrote me letters. Those letters became my lifeline. Through them, I got to experience her life in college, hear about her classes, her friendships, her dreams, and even the small details of her day that made me feel like I was still part of her world. While I was miles away, facing the challenges of military life, she stayed loyal and committed to me. She never let the distance make her forget what we had. No matter how difficult things became for me, whether it was the grueling training, the endless days away from home, or the nights when loneliness crept in, she was my escape. She always believed in me. Back then, I believed that as long as we had each other, nothing could shake us. When I finally got out of the service, the very first thing I did was go see Teresa. After years of letters and longing, we were finally face to face again, and it felt incredible. We had both grown up. We weren't the same high school kids anymore, but the love we had for each other hadn't faded. If anything, it felt even stronger. Those first few months together were some of the best times of my life. We laughed, we talked for hours, and we made up for all the time we had lost. But as much as I loved being with her, the military was all I had ever known. The structure, the discipline, the camaraderie I shared with my brothers in arms. It was where I felt I truly belonged. So, after some time, I made the decision to enlist again. Teresa supported me, though I knew it wasn't easy for her. She had already waited for me once, and now she would have to do it all over again. But she stuck by me just like she always had, and we kept our relationship going through all the ups and downs that came with it. Over the years, we have faced every challenge together, never letting distance break us apart. Teresa worked hard in college, and I was so proud of everything she was accomplishing. By the time she graduated, she was more than ready to settle down. She wanted to get married right away to finally start the life we had always dreamed about. But I told her to wait. It wasn't because I didn't want to marry her. There was never a doubt in my mind that she was the one. I just wanted her to build something for herself first. I encouraged her to get a job, to gain financial independence, to experience life outside of just being my fiancé. I wanted her to put her degree to good use, not just because she had worked so hard for it, but because I knew that my career in the military meant I would be away for long stretches of time. I wanted her to have stability, independence, and a sense of purpose outside of our relationship. More than anything, I wanted to make sure that if I wasn't around, she wouldn't feel lost or alone. It wasn't an easy conversation, but Teresa understood. She went out and built a career, making something of herself before we finally took that next step. Eventually, we both reached the age of 25, and that's when we finally tied the knot. Our wedding day was beautiful, one I'll never forget. Both of our families were there celebrating with us, and the happiness in the air was undeniable. That day, as I stood beside Teresa, making vows that I meant with every fiber of my being, I felt like the luckiest man alive. I finally had a wife I adored. Our parents were thrilled for us, especially Teresa's. Her mom couldn't stop crying tears of joy, and her dad, a man who is usually very composed, actually pulled me aside to tell me how proud he was to welcome me into their family. Teresa's father and I have always had a strong bond. He had served in the army himself for many years, until an accident cost him his left hand, forcing him to leave the service earlier than he had planned. Because of that shared experience, we understand each other in ways that most people don't. Whenever we meet up, we always talk about deployments, the sacrifices that come with the job, and the struggles of being away from loved ones. Over the years, our father-in-law-son-in-law relationship has grown into something deeper. He has become someone I truly respect and look up to, and I know he sees me as a son. Throughout the 10+ years of our marriage, I never once thought there were any serious issues between us. Of course, like any couple, we have had our ups and downs. But I always believed we were strong enough to get through anything. Looking back now, maybe I was too blinded by love to see the cracks forming beneath the surface. One of the biggest challenges we have faced was the issue of having kids. I had always dreamed of becoming a father. Ever since I was young, I pictured myself raising a family, teaching my kids life lessons, playing with them in the backyard, and watching them grow into good people. I wanted that more than anything. Teresa, on the other hand, never shared that dream. I didn't realize it at first because for a long time she never told me. During dating, whenever I brought up the fact that I wanted a kid, she would just smile and look away. She never gave me any signs that she didn't want any. After marriage, when I finally sat down to talk to her about trying for a kid, I was hopeful, excited even. She didn't seem excited at all, but at the same time, she didn't deny me. I deeply love my wife, and if she had told me even once back then that she didn't want kids, I would have adjusted my expectations. I would have listened, tried to understand her perspective, and accepted it, even if it meant rethinking my own desires for the future. But she never voiced her feelings about this, never gave me a reason to believe we weren't on the same page. Instead, I assumed we both wanted the same things, only to find out much later that she had been holding back how she truly felt. Month after month, we kept trying for a baby, but nothing ever happened. At first, I stayed optimistic, telling myself that maybe it was just bad timing, or that we needed to relax and let nature take its course. When that didn't work, I started thinking it might be stress. Maybe my deployments, the distance, or the pressures of everyday life were making it harder for us to conceive. And in my most desperate moments, I even wondered if this was God's way of telling us that parenthood just wasn't meant to be for us. Not once did it ever cross my mind that Teresa was actively preventing it from happening. I trusted her completely, so the thought of her deliberately going behind my back never even registered as a possibility. Instead, whenever I brought up my concerns, she would turn it around on me. She would gaslight me, making me feel like I was the problem, accusing me of having bad sperm. It hurt to hear that from her, but at the time, I believed it. After all, what else could explain why we weren't getting pregnant? Determined to fix what I thought was a medical issue on my end, I even went for multiple tests. I sat in doctors' offices, filled out forms, and let them run every exam necessary, hoping for answers. But every single time, the results came back the same. There was nothing wrong with me. I was perfectly capable of having kids. That should have been a relief, but instead it only left me more confused. If I was fine, then what was going on? Whenever I suggested that Teresa should get checked too, she would immediately brush it off. She would insist that she was perfectly healthy and didn't need any tests. I didn't want to pressure her, so I let it go. assuming that maybe she was just scared or anxious about the idea of something being wrong. I had no idea that the truth was something entirely different, something she had been keeping from me all along. Then, after months of disappointment, she finally admitted the truth. She looked me in the eye and told me that she had been secretly taking birth control pills the entire time. Every month that I spent hoping, every night that I lay awake thinking about what our future with children would look like, it had all been for nothing. She never wanted kids. Not now. Not ever. And the worst part was that she had known that from the very beginning. Hearing those words from her felt like a punch to the gut. I had spent so long blaming myself, thinking there was something wrong with me, when all along she had made a choice that I never even knew about. She had watched me go through test after test, had let me carry the weight of doubt and insecurity, and never once did she stop me. Instead, she let me believe I was the problem while she quietly made sure that we would never conceive. I was devastated, not just because my dream of fatherhood had been taken away from me, but because the person I loved the most had kept something so important from me. I felt betrayed, lost, and unsure of what to do next. A part of me wanted to walk away, to find someone who shared my dreams of having a family. But then there was another part of me, the stronger part, that couldn't imagine a life without Teresa. No matter how much it hurt, I loved her too much to let this break us. So I forced myself to let go of the idea of being a father forever. I told myself that being with her was enough, that growing old together mattered more than anything else. That's just the way I have always loved her with my whole heart, no matter the cost. Then 5 years ago, Teresa's mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. Even though the doctors caught it in the early stages, the news shook our entire family. Cancer is a word no one ever wants to hear, no matter how early it's detected. It was terrifying to think about the possibility of losing my mother-in-law. Over the years, she has become like a second mother to me. From the moment I joined their family, she had always treated me like her own son, and the thought of anything happening to her was too much to bear. Without a second thought, I made the decision to stay home for months so I could help take care of her. I put everything else on hold because at that moment, nothing mattered more than being there for her and my family. Teresa and I took turns helping out at her parents' house, making sure her mom had everything she needed to recover comfortably. We coordinated doctor's appointments, helped with meals, and just made sure she never felt alone through it all. Teresa's father, strong as he was, needed support too, and I was more than happy to step in wherever I could. That experience only strengthened my bond with Teresa's family. Through it all, I thought Teresa and I had become even closer. 3 years ago, I bought Teresa her dream home. She had been eyeing it for months, scrolling through Zillow, looking at the pictures of the house over and over again. Every time we talked about it, she would tell me how much she loved it, how she could picture us living there, how perfect it would be. But she always brushed it off as nothing more than a dream, because it was a little out of our price range. But I saw the way her face lit up whenever she talked about it, and knew how much it meant to her. So I sat down, went through our finances, and figured out a way to make it happen. I took out a loan to make that dream become a reality. I wanted to give her the house no matter what because I knew it would make her truly happy. When I finally told her that the house was ours, I'll never forget the way she reacted. She was ecstatic. Her eyes sparkled with joy, and she couldn't stop celebrating. It was one of those moments where I knew without a doubt that I had done the right thing for us. Seeing her so happy made every bit of effort worth it. Since then, we moved into the house and made it into the home we always dreamed of. We have decorated it together, spent quiet evenings on the porch, hosted family gatherings, and celebrated birthdays and anniversaries under this roof. Sometimes, though, I still find myself thinking about what could have been. I picture what it would be like to have a child running through these hallways, laughter echoing in the rooms. That dream still lingers in the back of my mind. But over time, I've learned to accept that it will never happen. Because at the end of the day, I love my wife. Teresa has been my partner, my best friend, the person who has stood beside me through every challenge life has thrown our way. We have always been there for each other through the good times and the bad. No matter what we faced, we always came out stronger together. At least that's what I thought. But if that were true, then why did she want an open marriage? Why did she feel the need to look elsewhere when I had already given her everything I could? At first, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mind refused to process it. I actually asked her if she was joking because, honestly, that was the only response that made any sense to me. How else was I supposed to react? The woman I had loved for most of my life, the woman I had built a home with, was suddenly telling me that she wanted to sleep with other men, and she expected me to be okay with it. But Teresa wasn't joking. She sat there completely serious and started explaining her reasoning. She told me that she felt she had sacrificed a lot for our marriage over the years, and that she deserved to be rewarded for it. The words stung, but she continued to tell me that while I was deployed for months at a time, she had been having certain urges that she was struggling to control. She said that being alone for so long made it difficult for her, and that she felt like she was missing out on something. So now she wanted us to have an open marriage so she could sleep with other men with my permission. I just sat there stunned. I had sacrificed so much for our marriage, more than she probably even realized. I had given up my dream of having kids because I couldn't bear the thought of losing her. I had rearranged my life to make her happy, put her needs before my own time and time again. I had bought her the dream house she thought she'd never have, taken care of her mother like my own, and stood by her through every hardship. And yet somehow, she was the one who felt like she had given up too much. I asked her straight up why. Why would she want to do this? Didn't she love me? Didn't she want to be with me? Was this the end of our relationship? Teresa immediately reassured me, telling me that she was still very much in love with me. She insisted that the only reason she was even asking me this was because she didn't want to cheat on me. She reasoned that she respected me enough to ask for an open marriage instead of sneaking around behind my back, as if that was supposed to make me feel better. She pointed out that despite having these so-called urges, she had always stayed loyal to me over the years. But then she pointed out that we all have just one life, and she didn't want to waste hers waiting months at a time to have sex with me. She wanted to explore other options and enjoy her life while she was still young. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. A waste. All those years we had spent together, the sacrifices, the love, the memories. Was that how she saw it? Was my absence due to my service, something I had dedicated my life to, really just an inconvenience to her? It was like I was talking to a stranger. The woman I had loved since I was 15, the woman I had built my entire life around, was now telling me that staying faithful to me had been some kind of hardship. That being in a committed monogamous marriage with me wasn't enough for her anymore. I sat there trying to come up with reasons as to why she had suddenly changed. Maybe this wasn't really about wanting an open marriage. Maybe she just hated that I was away so much. Maybe she was lonely, and this was her way of saying she wanted me home more. So I asked her, "Do you want me to leave the military? Is that what this is really about? Do you not want me to go away anymore? Because if that's what you need, I'll try to do it." But Teresa shook her head without hesitation. She told me she didn't mind my job. She had no problem with me being in the military. No issue with the fact that I was gone for months at a time. This wasn't about my career or my absence. "This is about me," she said. She told me that there was nothing wrong with me or our marriage, that she truly wanted me to remain her husband, to stay in her life, but at the same time, she also wanted other men. She reasoned that since we were both adults without children, we should be having more fun. Teresa reassured me over and over again that she would always be upfront about who she slept with if that would make me more comfortable with the idea of an open marriage, that she would never get emotionally involved with anyone else, that it would be just sex, nothing more. But to me, it didn't matter whether it was emotional or physical. This was cheating for me, and I didn't like it at all. Cheating was cheating. I told her that this wasn't something I had ever agreed to when I first married her. This wasn't the kind of relationship I had signed up for. We took vows to be faithful, to be committed, to choose each other every single day. And now, after everything we had been through, she wanted to rewrite those vows for her own benefit. I tried to make her understand. I told her that I get urges too, while I'm deployed. I'm gone for months at a time, surrounded by people who probably wouldn't think twice if I wanted to mess around. But I don't. I wouldn't. Because no matter how long I'm away, no matter how lonely I might feel, I could never bring myself to betray the woman I love. That's what commitment is. That's what love means to me. So, how could she sit there and ask me for something like this? How could she say she loved me, that she still wanted me as her husband, while also asking for permission to sleep with other men. It felt like she had completely shattered the foundation of everything we had built. I wasn't just angry, I was hurt. I had spent years believing in this marriage, in us. I had sacrificed dreams, time, and pieces of myself to make sure she was happy. And now it was like none of that mattered to her, because if she truly loved me the way I loved her, how could she even ask me for this? The argument escalated quickly, emotions running high on both sides. No matter how much I tried to make her see my point of view, Teresa wouldn't back down. In the end, she gave me an ultimatum. Either I agreed to her demands, or we divorced and went our separate ways. Hearing those words come out of her mouth felt like a punch to the gut. After everything we had been through, all the sacrifices, all the love I had poured into this marriage, she was willing to throw it all away just so she could sleep with other men. She didn't even seem conflicted about it. It was like she had already made up her mind and was just waiting for me to fall in line. That night, I couldn't stay in that house and pretend things were normal. I went to a bar and drank until my thoughts were too blurry to process. I needed an escape, even if just for a few hours. When I finally made my way back home, I didn't even go to our bedroom. I crashed in the guest room because I couldn't bear to look at her, let alone sleep beside her. Ever since that day, I have avoided her like the plague. I can't even look at her face without getting angry. Recently, I got the call. I was being deployed again. Before I left, Teresa insisted that I give her an answer. She didn't want to wait. She wanted to know if I would agree to an open marriage or if this was the end. I looked her in the eyes and made myself very clear I would never give in to her demand. I told her that if she was so eager to be with other men, then she should pack her bags and leave my house. I reminded her that this wasn't how I was raised, that this wasn't the kind of marriage I believed in. If she wanted an open relationship, she could have it, just not with me. I would rather divorce than stay married to someone who didn't respect the commitment we had made. She was furious. I could see it in her eyes, the way her face twisted in anger. Since then, she has refused to speak to me on the phone whenever I have tried reaching out to her. She is acting like I'm the one who did something wrong. So I just wanted to know if I am the a-hole for not agreeing to my wife's demands. Update 1. It's been overwhelming reading through all of your responses, and I appreciate every single one of them. To address some of the common questions and comments. 1. Yes, I am considering divorce. I meant what I said to her before I left. I won't stay in a marriage where I am disrespected. If she wants to be with other men, she can, but not as my wife. I gave her the chance to pack her bags and leave. Now, I just need to prepare myself for what comes next. 2. Did I miss any signs? Looking back, maybe the birth control situation was a huge betrayal, and I should have seen that as a red flag. But love makes you blind sometimes. I kept telling myself that because we had history, because we had been through so much, she would never betray me. I see now that I was wrong. 3. What's next? For now, I'm focused on my deployment, but as soon as I'm back, I'll be having a serious conversation with a lawyer. I worked hard for that house, and I'm not going to let her stay in it while she lives the single life under my roof. At the end of the day, it hurts like hell, but I know my worth. I deserve a wife who actually wants to be with me, not someone who thinks marriage is a burden she needs to escape from. I'll keep you guys updated when I can. Thanks again for everything. Update 2. I recently got a very upset call from my in-laws. Turns out my mother-in-law and father-in-law spotted Teresa out on a date with another man. She was apparently holding hands with this guy and kissing him like she wasn't married and didn't have a husband deployed right now. The sheer gall of this woman. Not only did she go behind my back and do this despite my disapproval, but she did it so openly in the same city where both my family and hers live. She didn't even try to be discreet. It's like she has truly stopped caring about anything but herself. Well, my father-in-law wasn't having it. He confronted her immediately and let her have it right there in front of everyone. And from what I heard, he didn't hold back. He was furious, yelling at her at the guy she was with, making it very clear just how disgusted he was with her actions. My mother-in-law was there too, and she was just as upset. My father-in-law is a former army man himself, and he's an intimidating guy when he's pissed. I can only imagine how terrified that other man must have been when this enraged ex-soldier got in his face. If I had to guess, I'd say that guy bolted the moment he realized who he was dealing with. After everything, father-in-law called me up, furious and apologetic all at once. He asked me if I had any idea why Teresa would do something like this. This is when I confessed to him about what she had demanded from me. He got even more upset and told me that he never raised his daughter to be this way, that he was ashamed of her, that he couldn't believe she would betray me like this. My mother-in-law was crying in the background, completely heartbroken over what Teresa had done. Honestly, at this point, I'm just numb. Any tiny hope I had left that maybe this was just some stupid phase, or that she would come to her senses, is completely gone now. She has made her choice. She clearly doesn't care about the consequences. I guess she might have even been involved with this man long before she even asked me for an open marriage. Anyways, I'm done. Fully, completely done. I have already contacted a lawyer, and as soon as I get back, I'm starting the process to divorce her. She can have her fun with whoever she wants. But she won't be doing it while still legally tied to me. Update 3. This week, Teresa called me furious, demanding to know why I've been talking behind her back with her parents and turning them against her. She screamed about how it was my fault that her family was so angry at her, that they weren't supporting her, that I had somehow manipulated them, and that I was playing the victim to make her look bad. I assured her that she did that all on her own when she decided to cheat and get caught by her own parents. But here's where it gets interesting. My in-laws, completely disgusted with Teresa's behavior, now want to help me get a divorce from her. As an apology for how she has treated me, and as a way to make things right, they have even offered me a portion of her inheritance to ensure I come out of this mess in the best possible position. And without hesitation, I have decided to happily accept it. Thanks to her parents' support, I won't be walking away from this marriage empty-handed. I never wanted things to end this way, but at least now I will get some closure.